Welcome to What's Your Story, where we, Jamie Marco,
And Stan Brown.
delve into the extraordinary lives of everyday people.
Listen in as we uncover the unique tales that shape who we are.
One story at a time.
Hey, let's get ready to explore today's story.
Let's do it. Hi, Dad.
Good afternoon.
Is there a reason why you are speaking like that today?
I feel like some afternoon tea. We having tea this afternoon?
Well, if someone's listening to this in the morning, it wouldn't be afternoon tea. It would be morning tea, wouldn't it?
Did cannibals invent finger sandwiches?
You
It's a valid
say,
question.
you do say some of the most interesting things that sometimes I'm like, what, did that really just happen?
Well, you may say interesting. People may say a little cuckoo.
Yes, I would say that that's a little cuckoo.
Speaking of cuckoo,
Yeah.
how do you like, cuckoo song?
I love my new cuckoo clock. So, listener, growing up, I may have mentioned this in another podcast. I don't remember. But growing up, my dad, my mom had a cuckoo clock in our kitchen, in our house, and I loved it. And it would go cuckoo, cuckoo, and this little rooster would come out, and it was the coolest thing. And
It
it
wasn't a rooster,
really,
it was a cuckoo. It was a cuckoo bird.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
a cuckoo bird. Anyway, I loved it. And somehow we started talking about that recently. Why were we talking about that? What brought that up?
Don't know, but when we had the cuckoo clock, I loved it, but it took about a year to adjust to the point that you wouldn't hear it.
Oh, okay.
And but it was fun.
Okay.
It was okay. You had to wind it up by pulling the chains below that. If you pull it too tight, you kind of messed it up. But it's somewhere in the garage waiting for a tune-up.
Well, I wasn't talking about it. And then you just recently got back from a trip and you were in Switzerland?
We were in cuckoo clock land, yes,
Okay. Is that what they're known for?
and a lot of money.
Okay. And you brought me back a cuckoo
But it
clock.
had to be a special one because your husband would have gone bananas if it was a regular clock. So we found one that was small enough, quiet enough, cute enough to appease everybody.
He did say last night after you all left, he said, I really appreciate that they thought of me in this as well too, and that they didn't get anything that was too loud.
Oh, it worked.
Yeah. Unlike when you bought our daughter drums for her birthday when she was 2, every noise-making toy she could possibly have growing up. I think you finally got the message that he can't handle that noise.
It was time for a reevaluation.
Yes, I can handle the noise. I can handle the funk.
Yeah, she says.
It's funny. So we've had it now up for a couple days, and it goes off, and I'm always like, "What is that noise?" I've not gotten used to it yet, but it's the sweetest little like cuckoo, and their little people go around the front, and it's so cool.
These
I
people,
love
our
it.
listeners don't want to hear
And,
this trife.
it's the little things in life that you have to embrace to make you happy and find the good in every day. And I can tell you that every hour on the hour when I'm working from home, I hear the cuckoo clock. It reminds me of you and mom. It reminds me of my childhood. And I just feel like cuckoo.
My job is done.
It is. Should we let our guest in?
Absolutely.
All right. So, listener, this is a very special week. And what I mean by that is that it is a week and time in history we will never forget. And I will let our listener kind of share with you why that is. But we are reminded every day that life is short. We never know what is going to come. We never know what tomorrow may bring. So today, tell the people you love that you love them, connect with them because really in reality, we don't know what life
Well,
is,
not just
right?
that, we all try to live in the moment, but when that moment is terrifying, it's let's let them in.
Yeah, I think we should. Okay, do it. All right, here we go. So we are letting him
Ken,
in.
Rick, Ken,
Yep, Ken. So he's coming on in and we'll say hello. But I met him through the National Speakers Association. And hi, Ken.
hello, Ken.
Hi, you're muted. We know we want to hear your voice. All right, hello.
Hey, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hi.
We are recording. This is my dad, Stan. Stan, this is Ken.
Greetings from
Hello.
coast of Florida.
Hi.
We are so happy to have you be our guest today, and we're just thrilled that you found time for us on your calendar. So thank you.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I have briefly told my dad your story, but our audience does not know your story. And we can start wherever you'd like, but we do like to start typically with one similar question that we ask all of our guests every beginning of every episode. Are you ready for it?
Sure.
Okay.
He's in a palm tree.
So, hope so.
I love your background. So like serene, my background's like all chaotic and crazy. All right. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being it is the best day you have ever had. There is not a worry in the world. To a one being a day you probably should have stayed in bed, canceled this interview, and should not be peopling, what is your number right now?
My number right now, I would say, is about a nine.
Oh,
Ooh, that's
the
Yeah,
effect we have on people. Yeah, congratulations.
yeah. Every day is a gift for me, so I rarely have a day that's less than a nine.
I love that. What would it take to have you go from a 9 to a 9.25?
9 to 9.25. I would say I will have graded more papers than I've graded by now. I'm a college prof, and the assignments are typically due Sunday at midnight. And so I get a tranche of papers that come in overnight, and then Monday is a very heavy grading day, as is Tuesday. So
I thought
I'd
you
be a
was
little
gonna
bit
say
further ahead, but I'm in very good shape.
I thought you were going to say when our check cashes.
You don't tell us secret that.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. That's a side conversation.
Yeah. Well, so you're a college professor. Tell us a little bit about that. I know, but I'll let you tell the listener. Where are you teaching now?
So I teach at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. It's based in Daytona, Florida. We also have a campus in Prescott, Arizona. And then the university has a third campus, and I teach in that campus, and it's our worldwide campus. It's virtual. So my students are from all over the world. As I speak in this particular course, I've got students from Africa,
Hmm.
uh, Asia, Canada, the Emirates. Most of them are US based, but they're in a master's level program. I teach airport and airline management. My background is in aviation. And prior to joining the university, having moved to Tampa, I was in Denver for about 10 years. I was the chief operating officer of Denver International Airport.
Boy, it's a big
So,
job.
very interesting job, lots going on, huge airport. We were moving about or handling about 172,000 people a day at the point where I left. And I also had prior aviation leadership experience in New York, Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, where in the early 2000s we ran Kennedy International, Newark Liberty International, and LaGuardia airports.
Wow.
But you couldn't get rid of the horse with the red devil eyes, huh?
Oh, no, no, no. You keep those. You keep those. Anything that keeps the conversation going.
Yeah, it keeps it relevant,
All the
right?
theories that we had about the horse and all the stories. And one thing that is true, though, the original sculptor um, died in the process of sculpting the horse, and the project was finished by his son. So that gives people this feeling of, is it truly demonic? And then at night it has the bright red eyes, and how come? But we loved it. It was
Was his son
always
ever
something to
charged?
talk about.
Was his son ever charged?
Wow.
Fame by
Very,
elimination.
There's no filter
I'm
here,
cooking
okay?
today.
nothing
He's from
skeptical there.
Boston, and there's no filters.
What's
Oh,
it?
Boston.
Ready for takeoff. Ready for takeoff.
Okay.
So, listener, if you're not aware, we're talking about the horrors at Denver International Airport. And it is at as you're leaving and coming to the airport. You'll see that. If you've been there, you know about it. If you've never been there, Google it. You can find so much crazy information about Denver Airport. There's so many conspiracy theories. We might get into that. How long
Okay.
have you been teaching for?
I have been teaching at the university for 6 years now.
Okay. Well,
And I've been I moved to Tampa almost 6 years.
Ah,
So I actually started in Denver because I
yeah.
left the airport in the summer of 2018. And then I started teaching in 19 before I ultimately moved here at the end of the year.
wow. And when did you start working for the Port Authority in New Jersey? You said in the early 2000s or?
I started my career in 1981
Okay.
working on operations related project in the World Trade Center as an industrial engineer. My undergrad is not an industrial engineer, but between starting as an engineering student and not doing terribly well, and moving into the business school, the combination of my credits mirrored an industrial engineer. So I started there in 1981. I worked in different capacities in the World Trade Center, on the rail system projects. Left in 1995, made a total life change. My wife and I at the time decided to live somewhere different, do something different. We actually moved from North Jersey to Minneapolis. I
Woo.
was in the food industry. I was in Minneapolis for a couple of years. Then I went on to run a distribution operation in Pittsburgh and made a decision to come back to the New York region in early 2000 with a small dot-com firm that went away like many of them did.
Hmm.
And so I found myself unemployed and I needed to find a job. And I went back to the Port Authority for references.
Hmm.
And the gentleman who I had last reported to asked me one question. He says, when you left us, I asked you, what job would you want here? What would you have aspired to? And I said, general manager at Kennedy Airport. He says, well, that's not going to happen. He's dead. He said, but you did say something about operations, and we need an assistant director of aviation for operations for the airport network. And I went home that day. Excuse me. And he said, and the job is yours if you want it. This lunch was an interview. You
Wow.
didn't know that, but you fine with the interview, so I'm making you a job offer.
Wow.
So I went home and I said, you're not going to believe this. I could be the assistant director operations for aviation for the 4 airport system just by making a phone call on Monday. This is the Friday afternoon lunch. And the response was, great opportunity. You're 42 years old. How could you not take it? I don't want you to take the job.
Oh, wait, I bet you were at 10 before she said that.
Yes. I went from 10 to about 4.
Holy crap.
And my response was, I'm not following. Why?
Right.
Remember what happened in the Trade Center in 1993?
Yeah.
And I said, yes, no one can forget the attack in 1993
In the garage.
Yeah.
in the garage.
Man.
The Econoline van in the garage, the explosive. Yes, I remember it. I won't be comfortable with you working in that building. And I said, that's 8 years ago, because I'm having this conversation in May of 2001. That's 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Nothing has happened since then. Probably the last place in the world any terrorist would attack.
Come back. Sure.
Fortified. They've got bollards at street level. They eliminated public parking, 3 levels of security to get into the building. That's the last place I'd worry about. And because of my job or the job, I would be out of the office probably more than I would be in the office.
Mm-hmm.
I understand. I get all of it. I just won't be entirely comfortable with you in the building.
Mm.
So talked it out. And ultimately it was, look, you need, this is a career job for you. And you didn't even interview for it. At least you didn't know you were interviewing for it. You had a lunch that turned into an interview that turned into an offer in a matter of 60 minutes. And you could start next week if you wanted to. So I took the job and I started on the 14th of May, 2001.
Did you stay married?
I did for
At
about
that moment. At that moment.
at that moment, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, yes.
But he started introducing her as my first wife.
Stop
Well,
it.
it was interesting because, the intuition discussion, I kept thinking, oh man, are we going to come down to
Yeah.
it's just my intuition that that's not somewhere I want you to be. And I'm thinking, I am literally walking into a job that I dreamed of. Other than the general manager at Kennedy Airport, this was my second aspiration before I left the agency. So how could I not do this? And yes,
So
we worked it
May
out.
of 2001 and
14th. Mm-hmm.
14th. So a little less than 4 months later, the world changed.
Trust
The
your wife.
world changed. I was in my office on the North Tower I was in my office on the 65th floor of the North Tower. And ironically, and this is September 11th, and ironically, I was supposed to be leaving for a meeting at LaGuardia Airport. So I commuted from Southern Connecticut, where we were living at the time, down to the building. My plan was to leave about 8:20, maybe, and the meeting got pushed back an hour. So instead of leaving at 8:20, I'm going to leave at 9:15. No big deal. Meetings get moved. It happens. 8:46, the first plane out of Boston hits the North Tower right around the 92nd floor. We were on 65.
You feel it?
I felt it. We felt it. It shook the tower. It shook the tower. Chairs rolled. Files fell off of cabinets.
And
It was a
nothing before that, because you're like you are part of like the airport, network and everything. So nothing, not even like a warning, like a second before it happened, nothing. Like it just that was it.
Now, what we came to learn later was in the air traffic system, there were conversations about, a plane that got lost in the
Right,
system
sure.
and but by then you're 10 or 15 minutes away from the event. There's really not much you could probably do. So, yeah, it hit the building
What was your first
violently.
first thought? Earthquake?
My first thought was a plane hit the building, but I thought it was probably a small aircraft
So true.
that got lost.
It's
But then
that
it didn't make sense because the flight patterns in the New York region are over the rivers. It's over the Hudson River, the
Inconceivable.
East River. You're not flying over Manhattan. Maybe today it's changed, but at that point in time, you're not flying over Manhattan. So something didn't make sense. And my first thought was small aircraft got lost. It happens. But then what dawned on me is the size of the concussion, the size of the hit
So
was
huge.
much too big for a small airplane. And we pushed into the center of the building. Now, the elevators were in the center core of the floors, and we got into the stairs. The stairs allowed maybe three people to walk down a single step, maybe that much, but you could only move as quickly as whoever was the slowest
Funny.
person's in front of you. And above us, they're screaming, they're dying up there. And you could smell fire, you could smell jet fuel.
Oh,
And that was what was going on in the stairwell.
yeah,
And
yeah. After the initial impact, was there an explosion?
there was an immediate explosion. Now, what I do remember seeing after the initial impact, looking out of my window, because my office was on the northeast corner of the building. So I had the corner office that faced north to the Empire State Building, and if you looked east, you're looking at the UN and that side of on the other side of the water. And I do remember looking out of the building, and it looked like confetti, like a parade. And I remember parades when the Yankees would win World Series. And for those from Boston, I think the Yankees have won about 38. But anyway, um,
How's it
I
know?
do remember.
I said
Oh, damn it.
earlier.
What the hell's wrong with you?
Is the interview over? Are we done now? Um, I do remember seeing what looked like confetti coming out of the building, but it was all so confusing until we get into the stairwell and we hear people pushing down above us, screaming they're dying up there. And so we worked our way down the stairwell, and I'll never forget um, individuals who had picked up people who were not terribly ambulatory and had them on their shoulders with their legs, hanging down and their hands around, holding onto the ears and the hats. And we just did everything we could to walk down those stairs. And what we did not know, looking at the timeline in retrospect, that around the time that my team was on the 28th floor in the stairwell, that's when the South Tower got hit.
Did you hear
Looking
it?
at the timeline. So we didn't know.
So you didn't
When
even
the
hear it. You're
South
so
Tower got
insulated
hit,
in that stairwell. You don't hear it. You don't know it. Nothing's going. Got it.
yeah, and you've got
Disturbing.
dirt and debris and all of this going on, so you're hearing anything
So
was
the
difficult.
elevators were not operational. You're told don't go in the elevators.
They shut down immediately in an emergency. Elevators shut down immediately in an emergency, but no one ever considered that kind of an emergency. Typically, if you had an emergency, it lasted for some period of time, and then somebody in operations, World Trade Center operations, would make a decision if they want to activate an elevator, but only for emergencies like people with disabilities who need to get down, or that's a business decision. That's an operational decision they'd have made. But in this particular case,
Which,
do
which,
not go in elevators.
Did
which,
cell
And there were people in elevators who were trapped.
Did you have a cell phone on you at the time? Like I'm trying to think like technology wise.
I
Like
had a cell phone, but all of the service was just out
yeah.
that in that part of Manhattan. I did, however, have a radio, and the radio went to the command center, and the command center was in a situation of trying to decide whether people should leave or not leave. Because again, you've got two hot towers that have been hit within 28 minutes of each other or something like that. Uh, and that activity was focused on what do we tell people to do, not so much what kind of information we should be giving people who are trying to get out.
what was your
And that
mental
makes a lot of
what
sense.
was your mental state at that point?
My mental state was entirely confused. And what was very interesting was when we started to get to the base of the North Tower, and the North Tower, the way you exited the tower was you came out on what was the mezzanine. And the mezzanine was in the news a lot. There was the big black fountain.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That mezzanine level was above the concourse,
Hmm.
probably about 2 levels above a long escalator. And as we were getting closer to that exit, there were people who were actually thinking that, you know what, this will just probably be a day off. But when you exited that stairwell into that mezzanine area with windows that were probably 20 to 25 feet high all the way around, and you look out of the window and you see bodies coming out of the sky and hitting pavement, you know something is very, very wrong.
What was the temperament of the people all coming down the stairs? Was it panic? Was it quiet? Was it?
It was panic because you're desperate to get out. You know there's a fire somewhere. There's evidence of smoke, depending on what floor you are on, and you can only move as fast as the slowest people in front of you. Just like
Stair-
being on a highway, you can only drive as fast as the slowest cars in front of you.
but the stairwells were lit at that time.
The stairwells were lit because back in 1993, there were retrofits done to the building,
Hmm.
and lighting was one of them.
Imagine if it was total doctors would have been even a bigger disaster if that's
Right.
possible.
And luminescent tape on rails and at the edge of steps. So there were things that were done in 1993 that were helpful to the evacuation. But think about all of this happening so fast. 100 folks who died is 100. The event was 102 minutes long.
Hmm.
How far down did you get before the building fell?
I got down to that mezzanine level I was talking about, and I made a decision to stay. I worked there for a total of about 17 years at the time. I knew people in World Trade operations. I knew many of our police officers. And what I observed was the escalator that went from the mezzanine down to the concourse level. You had emergency personnel trying to come up the escalator. You had people trying to go down the escalator. And one of the police officers looked at me and I said, I'm going to stay and try and basically traffic cop
Sure.
this intersection of traffic in one direction, firefighters and emergency personnel coming up, and people trying to get out. And he said to me, you got to put a hard hat on. Fine. There were a big box of them against the window. Again, I didn't know there was a
Just
second
had them
building.
there, or they brought them in
Oh,
for?
they brought them in.
Okay, got it.
And they just wanted to make sure people were as protected as possible. So I grabbed the hard hat and I stood at the top of that stairwell and hand up and, okay,
They need
just like
that.
somebody is directing traffic
A
at a
lot of people,
stadium,
absolutely. Jeez.
stop, come on up, stop. And after a short period of time, I hear this incredible thunder. And I look up over my left shoulder, and the South Tower is collapsing 150 feet from
Oh, so the
where
one that got hit second fell first. Oh, I didn't know that.
yes,
I didn't
yes,
know that.
yes. South Tower is collapsing 150 feet over my left shoulder.
And what do you do at that
You no
point?
place to go.
Well, I remember seeing a wave of debris coming my way, picked me up, threw me probably 8, 9, 10 feet. I landed on my back. Fortunately, I rolled over onto my stomach and covered my head, and that's where the interior ceiling of the North Tower, from the violent collapse 150 feet away, collapsed. And so that collapse happened while a debris field is blowing in our direction from the other tower. So you had two effects. You've got it coming this way, and you got it coming this way. And I was just engulfed in debris and dirt and God knows what. Never lost consciousness. And fortunately, a fireman who had found his way into the North Tower, still standing from the backside, had some kind of a microphone or something where I could faintly hear, if you could hear the voice, crawl to the voice.
Mm.
And having worked there for as many years as I did, I was crawling and I hit something. And I remember it was sort of this convector line along the window. And I knew, okay, I'm along a window somewhere. Put my hands on and elbows and I crawled in that direction. Ultimately, with this fireman just guiding me out in the middle of this, was able to get out onto that external plaza that I was talking about, where the fountain was, lay out there for a little while. And as I'm laying out there, I hear boom, 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 boom. And it's people jumping. And I'll never forget the sight of somebody being 5 feet away from me.
Wow.
Just
And
jumping
that's
out
when
the
I
window.
knew I don't know where I am or what's going on, but I know I'm in a bad place. And I look across very, very faintly, and I see what was called the it was called the United Nations building. It really was a 12-story building with a very long overhang. And I crawled over to the overhang just to get underneath. And again, you could just see bodies sort of scattered on the plaza, and made a decision that I couldn't stay there. I had to get down the street, and there was a stairwell, a very famous stairwell that you saw a lot of coverage about. Um, got down those stairs. I don't think my feet touched the stairs. I think I might have just grabbed the railing and slid as quickly as I could. As soon as I get down the street level, North Tower goes. So I beat that by 5 minutes.
Wow. And so it didn't fall on you that second time. You didn't.
Fortunately, not. If I had still been inside, I would have been one of the 2,800, roughly 2,800 people who died there that day. My organization, we lost 84 people in 102 minutes, and I knew 64 of them.
Based upon the timeline of the hits, more people got lost in the South Tower, I would suspect, or no?
I would think so because the South Tower got hit midsection. The North Tower got hit around 92. The South Tower got hit, if I remember correctly, somewhere between the 55th and 60th floor in a 110-story building.
If any time during this ordeal did your wife's feelings come back, it hit you, did you think about what you had said, don't be there?
No, no. At that point, I
You're in
just,
Yeah.
survival mode.
yeah, I'm just trying to process what's going on. Um, I
And
wound up through a
walk.
series. I'm sorry.
You were able to walk, like you didn't break anything. You were.
I had some back issues that every now and then I get them. It's a lower back issue. It might happen once or twice a year and last 3 days. If that's the worst of it, I'm blessed. I did have some short-term inhalation issues, but nothing as bad as the rescue and recovery workers who were there day in and day out for weeks, or people who were literally found. So they were in that environment for hours. But the only thing that happens is once or twice a year, my back acts up and it's not comfortable, but it reminds me, lucky to be here. So shut up, deal with it. It'll go in 3 days and get on with it.
Did you get home that night?
No. What happened was I actually found my way up the what's called West Street. It's between the Trade Center and the Hudson River. And I was met by some Port Authority officials, and they put me in a police car. And the police car took me to New Jersey. Now, if I don't know if you've ever been to New York,
Yeah, we've been
but
there.
visualize yourself going one direction in a two-direction tunnel with no cars coming at you or going by you. So now I think I'm on the set of a movie because
Oh,
nothing's
sure.
making sense. I
It's
mean, really.
surreal.
And we go flying through the tunnel, get me to the other side of the tunnel, the base of Jersey City, New Jersey, out of the police car, strap me on a gurney, put me in an ambulance. There was a transfer point from police to ambulance. Ambulance takes me to St. Francis Hospital. I'm admitted. I'm immediately put on an aspirator to try and pull as much out of me as they possibly could. And after a period of time, they said to me, "Look, under normal circumstances, we're going to keep you, but we could have hundreds of people coming in here.
More
So
tough than you, sure.
who are worse shape than you. So we can't keep you. Who's your employer?" And I said, "The Port Authority." And he said, "Okay, we'll arrange transportation because in Lower Jersey City, the Port Authority's police command officers sit right there." And I got picked up by my employer and taken to our command center in Lower Jersey City. I still don't know the magnitude of what happened. I walk into this space, they confiscate my clothing, and they give me some ill-fitting sort of hospital gownish kind of stuff because whatever's in my clothing you don't want it in the air. And then I find my way into this big room of other people who look like me, who I had worked with, same kind of circumstance. They look like me, covered in dirt and all different kinds of things. And we begin to work because on that particular day there was a national aviation conference, and so a lot of the leaders were in Canada, I believe it was Montreal, attending a national conference, and there weren't many of us back in New York. And so the first item of business was to start talking to the airports about what's going on. The national airspace was shut down. Again, I wasn't aware of this. And after a period of time on the phone and talking to people, something told me that I wasn't going home. By now, we're looking at about 6 p.m. Okay, I didn't timeline this for you, 6, 7 p.m. And something said to me, I don't think I'm going home tonight. I better call my wife and just let her know. So I call her. Now, imagine what's going on in her world. My brother in Washington, D.C., puts together a conference call. My wife is on it, my mother's on it, aunt, uncle, and others are on this conference call, monitoring this. And about midday, my wife gets a call, says, have you heard from Ken? No. Why? Well, he's unaccounted for. And we unfortunately know he was on the plaza when
Mm.
South Tower went.
Made the worst assumption, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Because the news reports by then had thousands of people. And so fast forward 8 hours, because this information gets shared obviously with everybody in my family who's on this conference call. No way I'm going to be found alive. No way. I mean, you just do the math in your head in the moment. Now, fast forward to where I was beginning to talk. I pick up the phone. Hey, it's me. I don't know if you know what happened today, but apparently a plane hit the Trade Center and there were people jumping, and I don't know. I firemen got me and took me to a hospital, and so I'm in New Jersey, and now I heard that all entrance into New York City is closed. So there's no way I can get home tonight. So I just figured I'd just let you know the crying, the screaming, the
Wow.
screeching, the wailing, the shouting, and then it was okay. I got to call your mom. I got to call your brother. I got to call your aunts. I got to call your siblings. I got to call you. But okay. Click. And my first reaction was, I'm an airport guy. When you have bad weather, you may not be home for days. You're sleeping on a cot. You're sleeping in your office. So I'm not going to be home. There's many a night that I haven't been home because of some kind of an emergency. What is wrong with her that my mother needs to know this? And my brother needs to know this? My uncles, my aunts, why is everybody behaving in such a strange way? Why is a police car going 100 miles an hour through a two-way tunnel? Why am I in a hospital?
Concept of what had happened. Not
Why am I sitting in this room with all of these people who look as disheveled as we all look? Why am I on the phone talking about closing airports? And now my wife is at home screaming and carrying on because I'm not coming home today.
It was inconceivable.
So what moment did you finally realize what had happened and what was going on?
About an hour and a half later, the most senior person in the room said, at the moment, we have about 265 unaccounted for. And I turned to the person sitting next to me and I said, unaccounted for what? He said, who could have died when the towers collapsed? I said, what towers collapsed? And he looked at me and said, you don't know all that happened? I said, no, all I know is a plane hit. I'm smelling jet fuel and fire. Next thing you know, I'm on the plaza. Next thing you know, they're bodies. I figured plane hit, so maybe people got killed. And then I'm on the street, and next thing you know, I'm in a hospital, and now I'm over here with you. And he took me through every frame: 8:46, 8:59, 10:28, And that's when it all in reverse started to make sense. And
Wow.
I got up and I went to an office down the hallway and I pulled the door shut, did not turn the light on. And for an hour, I just sat on the floor and tried the process.
You're in shock.
I tried the process. But meantime, we have an airport system to run.
Yeah. I mean, wow. So many questions. The fireman that's voice that guided you out of the building. Did you ever get to meet that individual or know who he
No, because he continued straight in.
got it?
And I believe that the FDNY, Fire Department of New York, lost 353 or 363 firefighters in that event.
So I can only imagine how things unfolded afterwards in airports and 24 years later, or about to be 24 years later, here we are. You
Mhm.
are teaching airport management. You are in perhaps one of the most volatile industries when it comes to customer experiences, to inflation, to safety and security. I mean, like there's so many things that hit that industry on a regular basis. Why stay in that field after that experience like that? I mean, I would think of it, some people just the trauma of reliving it. Even I'm sure you've told the story 1,000 times. I know you've got books and everything like that. Like walk us, I don't even know my question, but I think there's an
Mhm.
answer
He's
there.
he's an airport guy.
Yeah. Hmm.
That's the answer. Aviation gets in your blood in a way a lot of other professions don't. Now, I'm not saying more than other professions, but
Yeah.
I don't know too many people who refer to themselves as, an ex choose a discipline guy or an ex choose the discipline woman. It just gets it's a fascinating industry. Uh and there's so many pieces to it. And if you've worked as an insider and you've seen what it takes to run an airport and had the responsibility for running a facility the size of Denver,
Yeah.
you really get to understand it in a way that most people just never really will. And it just stays there. Watching planes. When I first got to Denver, my very first day, my office faced down on the ramp where Frontier has all of its operations. So it was Frontier aircraft from one end to the other. And then to my left, I looked up and there are the Rocky Mountains. And I stood there and I watched planes line up and take off and go over the Rockies, one by one by one. And I said to myself, I'm a kid from the Bronx who wouldn't have dreamt I'd be standing in these shoes in this office looking out of this window at those airplanes go over those mountains. That's why I stay with aviation.
Magical.
Wow. How do you navigate the trauma of that day? Every year, obviously, we have our memorial, and this is airing,
Mhm.
close to that date. Uh, but obviously, there's days that happen, 364 other days that happen each year, and whatever that is, times 24. How do you navigate that? That's a lot. I mean, you were surrounded by so much trauma and so much
Mhm.
fear and so
Well,
much.
it's classic PTSD. It's just
Yeah.
uh,
How do you navigate that?
Well, I mean, you asked me how my day was, and I said a 9, and it's almost never below that because it might be philosophical, it might be spiritual, maybe, but I got a gift that a lot of people didn't get, many of whom I knew, 60 plus, who I knew. And so when you have the opportunity, what do you do with it? Do you stay in that moment? What would they have wanted, those of us who were not, killed in that event? What would they have wanted us to do? If you could get them all together, what would they have wanted us to do? They'd have wanted us to go on, live our lives, do the things that we have been enabled to do. And of course, looking back is difficult. And yeah, this year, 24, next year, the 25th anniversary, will probably have a lot of attention paid to it. And so that's what I've chosen to do. And I've stayed in the industry. I enjoy teaching in this subject. I've done speeches about lessons learned that particular day. I've engage people who lost folks in that event, not only in my company, but along the way, you meet people who, oh, my cousin was there. And so this is how it's affected my family. So talk to me about your, and it's a gift to get up every day. And I know that can be a little cliched sometimes, but it's a gift to get up every day.
How do you use it to teach your students now? Like, what are some of, you said the lessons you learned. What are you doing now when you're teaching your students about airport management? I mean, we have movies from Die Hard, like all these different, like literally airports are probably one of the most watched, seeked out places to commit a crime and also to make sure crime doesn't happen.
Right.
So, how does that come into play with your teaching now?
Well, what I learned, what I experienced in my career, airports are fluid. They're not perfect systems. You're dependent on a lot of different variables. Weather, for example, can't control it. But the number one responsibility is safety and security
Mhm.
before anything else. And you never lose perspective where that's concerned. And so every kind of decision you have to make, even if it's a difficult decision, that's going to create a bad day, a bad week for people. It has to come down to their safety, the safety not only of your passengers, the safety of your employees as well, and the security of your passengers and your employees. And so the tug of war sometimes goes to, if I make a decision that will make it difficult for thousands of people, is it the right decision, recognizing I'm focused on safety?
Mm.
And we used to have those conversations. For example, you make a decision to close an airport
Mm.
in a weather event or for some other reason. Been in those shoes.
Yeah.
You don't even know exactly what's going to happen yet. You have uh, a tornado that's coming up from the south. It may go straight for you. It might go east. It might go west. It might die before it gets to you. But you have to make a decision now. You can't wait until it's at the gate, if it's ever at the gate.
Yeah.
And it's a Friday in a major international connecting hub airport. And there are probably 50,000 people whose days are going to be ruined if you shut the place down. What do
Jeez.
you do? What do you do? And the decision point for me, if one person gets hurt or loses their life because other folks were not disenfranchised, admittedly, you made the wrong decision.
Mm.
Mm.
Now, if the decision to shut down is made and this particular storm never touches your property, you're going to look like an idiot. And people are going to say, why did you make this decision to close this facility? And the storm went 10 miles away and you could have been flying. And do you know how many people?
Second guessing, sure.
Yeah.
I'd rather be the fool with everybody alive around me than the gambler who chose to make a bad decision.
Yeah.
And the best
And
part is
so
the public has no idea who you are.
No, they
they
do.
do, they
They do.
do,
They do.
they will
Today
if
they'll find out.
if the storm doesn't hit,
Yeah.
because the media is going to have some questions.
Who was that guy? Who was he?
I'm
You
wondering,
made the decision.
do you see that enrollment is, has it increased over the last few years for people wanting to get into aviation? Has it decreased, or has it stayed the same? Has there not been an effect? Like what does that look like in regards? Because, you know, as a layperson over here watching the news any moment, I am never more scared to fly than today, but then everyone says, no, it's the safest thing, do it. And then there's story after story after story, right? But so where do you see the world of aviation and people wanting to get into it? How's that looking these days?
Interesting question. I would characterize it as a break even. You've
Okay.
got people who are of retirement age, and you had folks post COVID
Mhm.
who didn't return, pilots, flight crews,
Roller shoe.
employees who work what we call below the wing, meaning on the airfield.
Got it.
And so the influx of newer talent is sort of breaking it all even.
Okay.
The challenge continues to be the availability of pilots. And this is something that's across the industry.
Sure.
Internationally?
Yes.
What is the
And
Well, what is the age? Do you have to be a certain age to be a pilot, or you have to be under a certain age to be a pilot, or is it like a
that's a good question. I'm not sure if there is an age limitation. I believe there's a proficiency requirement
okay, got it.
that you have to demonstrate. That's a good question, Jamie. I'm not sure if you have to retire at age 70 or anything like
Got it.
that,
Maybe
because
for air
they
traffic
are
control,
tested and trained all the time.
but maybe for air traffic control, is there an age there? Someone said you have to be under the age of like 40 for air traffic control or something. Is that real? That
I
could be a
think
false statement I've seen on Instagram.
I don't know that you have to be. I know that they want you to start getting experience as early as possible, but I don't know if there's a rule that necessarily says that. And yeah, Instagram
Oh yeah.
has lots of interesting stuff.
Oh gosh. Oh yeah, you can't go down. And then say something, maybe you know this because you don't necessarily, you're not teaching pilots, you're teaching the management of an airport, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Just curious. Say someone today says, maybe you know this answer, maybe you don't. I want to be a pilot. Once you make that decision, what is typically
Path.
the path? Like how long until they're actually probably flying a plane?
Hours,
That
hours.
means like 5 years, 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, there are pilots who, people who want to be pilots, they'll go into the military,
Got it. Okay. Learned
the
five.
Air Force,
Yeah.
where you're going to fly, but the Navy has pilots
Yeah.
as well. They can go to private schools,
Mhm.
or they can go to a college like Embry-Riddle
Got it.
that actually has its own fleet of airplanes on the Daytona campus and uses the Daytona Beach Airport
That's so
in
cool.
conjunction with Daytona Beach Airport itself to do the flight training. So there are
Are we
different.
getting a greater percentage coming out of the private market as opposed to military for pilots?
I would think so because a lot of, again, the pilots who were in the military that many years ago and have been in industry a long time when they retire. So, but overall, it's a challenge. I mean, it's a great vocation. It can certainly pay well and take you to a lot of places.
Are you ready for the next event that I've been living for?
What's that?
Oh, we're doing the mind
Oh,
meld.
is this, you mean the Red Sox World Series? No,
Oh, you promised me
I'm an
before.
obnoxious New Yorker, and I know that this will
I think
probably
it
never air.
starts with an
So,
Hold on.
R. I think it
Oh,
starts with an
I'll
R.
give you a hint. George Jetson.
What are you talking about?
ah,
Uh-uh.
interesting. So,
Oh,
the George Jetson world, in many ways, is upon us.
Flying cars.
Not so much flying cars, but there are aircraft that do not have pilots in the aircraft. They're smaller aircraft that are used by militaries, not only in this country, but other countries, to move emergency supplies and materials from one location to another. They guided on the ground by people who are actually piloting them in these highly
a drone?
um,
Like a drone?
they are it's a similar concept, but they're planes. Now they're not the kind of commercial passenger planes that you and I would get on,
Right.
but they're used to move product and goods and materials from one place to another. They're used in this country on some levels and in other countries more extensively. So you do have that kind of technology out there. I think the big question that looms out there for people is, will we have a day where you can get on a commercial aircraft and it is flown by a command center without a pilot in the cockpit? Um, Technologically, could probably happen. From a culture and societal standpoint, that could be a tough sell.
Mhm.
And I've had people say to me that know me, oh, I think it would be cool to get on an airplane and, you know, it's being flown by a machine, or it's being guided by a pilot who's in a command center on ground. And I said, okay, let's be honest with each other. The door closes, the plane starts backing off of the gate, it taxis to the runway, and the first announcement you hear is, "Hi, I am your pilot. I will be flying you to Chicago. Do not worry.
Oh,
My leader is on the ground in a center in Houston.
I hope
Have a nice journey." Are you going to panic, or are you going to say, "Oh, that's cool, man. That's yeah, I kind of like that."
Didn't they just complete a test of those automated taxis from Tampa Airport?
I think they were going to do those tests here. Now, those automated taxis, though, are in use. I
Yeah, I
go
saw
to
that.
so
Yeah,
one of
I'm
the
not talking
classes I teach is over in Brazil, and Sao Paulo, I should say, is a very, very congested city for traffic. And the building across the street from the hotel lights then has a pad,
Wow.
and they're on and off that pad all day long, and they could be on that pad as late as 8, 9 o'clock at night. So it's out there. The question is, what kind of deployment would we be looking at? And I know there are concerns with as many airplanes that are in the sky sharing the airspace. Is this risky?
Wow.
One of my pet peeves is you're probably well aware that the hijackers did their training here south of Sarasota in Venice. And I've always thought if you want to forego any kind of problems, deputize the population. See something, say something. And the instructor there, when he told the people, "Going to next we're going to teach you how to land," apparently the pilot, the terrorist said, "Oh, we don't want to know how to land." I mean, that's a massive red flag, and nothing was said. It's insanity because there are ways nothing happens in a vacuum.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Well, I think it speaks to look at where we were as a culture. These kinds of things always happen somewhere else,
Hmm.
and so the level of vigilance that we have now, and vigilance typically gets higher after a catastrophe, after something significant happens, uh, just wasn't there then necessarily. And I think once we had the 9/11 experience, certainly it just raised the level of vigilance, and the event just made us in this country aware that we are now part of the greater planet.
Yeah.
These kinds of things are not just going to happen, or we're not, these kinds of things are
Yeah.
not potential events in other places only.
Yeah.
And so that's created a level of vigilance that may not have been there in the past on a lot of levels, not just in terms of air flight, but just in general. We've been free flow and not have to worry about these kinds of things, and
Yeah.
that changed the world.
and that the event must have definitely had an impact on your marriage, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was um, difficult because I was immersed in the business immediately thereafter
Yeah.
and then have a day off for about 18 straight days.
Yeah.
And so I was as happy as I could have possibly been working immediately for 18 straight days. And
You're
most people
helping.
would say,
You're
why?
contributing, sure.
I was immersed in something significant.
Yeah.
And I wasn't at home to watch it on TV, hear it on the radio, talk about it on the phone, read all the pop psychologists' analyses of what's going on. I was in a space with a bunch of people who were trying to work through the unimaginable in a significant role, mind you.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's where I wanted to be. So while my family and friends could not understand why I didn't get a day off for that long, not only did I understand it, I appreciated it.
So now you are a professor at Embry-Riddle, but you're also using that experience plus your other 20 plus years experience in aviation and working in airports to connect with other people and share with them some of your learnings from that. You're a keynote speaker. I believe you've written a book. Am I remembering that correctly? Or a
A
couple?
long time ago, came out 21 years this month. So, yes.
you were so young.
I know, right? Uh, so
Big question.
I just let
Oh,
the beginning of my sentence interrupt the middle of yours.
Have you ever have you ever had a UFO experience?
Oh, he has to ask.
Yeah, I can see it. Yes.
I have not had a UFO experience.
How about wait a minute, how about a UAP experience?
uh,
Maybe.
Maybe.
Okay. He can't talk about that. This podcast would be shut down real fast.
That's why I went to maybe.
There you
People
go.
come, people come looking for me like,
Yeah,
does this guy live?
there you go. So my question is, what would you say is like you're speaking to teams, you're speaking to leaders, you're doing different things. What is the motivation behind that? And what is your top lesson that you're sharing now with people about your experience? Not only in
Well,
actual,
I look to help people be introspective about how well they are prepared when you have a significant event in your life.
got it.
Doesn't have to be just 9/11. It could be something that happens in your family. It could be something that happens to you, whatever that significant event is in your life. And so the theme of what I talk about is the question, who are you?
Mm.
And the context that I speak to is going back to 9/11 and when I was describing being in that conference room with all the other execs, and the most senior person in the room gets up, stands in front of all of us, and I'll never forget this, and says, "Look, guys, I'm not going to give you the whole speech, but look, guys, we are in an unimaginable place, and there's no training manual for this, no guidebook, no workshop, no course, no class. There's nothing. We have nothing for this. And the bottom line is working our way out of this is going to come down to who you are, how you manage, what you know."
Mm.
So, my question to everybody in this room, this is what he said. My question to everybody in this room is, who are you? Because now we're going to find out.
Mm.
It's a
And the
question most people
went
don't ask until something happens.
room went silent. So where I go with it is then to turn it back to the audience and say and ask, who are you? And things I learned about, if you don't have planning skills, not a good time to be in a management role. If you're not organized, not a good time to be in a management role. If you don't have the ability to communicate, if you don't have the ability to stay informed as to what's going on because you don't want employees to know what's going on before you do,
Mhm.
and you're the leader, if you don't have the ability to stay consistent, even if internally you're struggling, your external persona in an emergency matters, if you don't have the ability to listen, if you don't have the ability to follow through, the chances of managing your way through a crisis are not as good as they are if you're prepared.
Wow.
So, and I give them an exercise at the end. I say, this is tough. I've done it, but this is what I challenge everyone in this room to do before I wrap up. And that is find two or three people who know you really well and ask them those questions about you and see what their answers are. And if their perceptions are different than
And
your
you,
perceptions with regard to who you are,
Yeah.
you really need to think about, do I need to take action steps? Do I need to learn how to communicate better? Do I need to work on my organization skills? Do I need to learn how to listen and not talk so much, et cetera, et cetera? Because one day circumstances are going to look you eye and the question is going to be, who are you? And then
hmm.
I'm done.
Whew.
I can tell you who I think you are. Amazing.
Oh, wow.
No, but you
Thank
are
you.
just, first of all, I'm so grateful that it was not your time. It just wasn't. You had a higher purpose. Clearly, you are living that. You are helping others find and navigate their path, sharing your story. I cannot even imagine how challenging and difficult that must be every time to talk about it, even though it's been 24 years. I say 24 years, right? 24,
Almost.
The math
almost
Month
changed.
20.
away. Yeah.
Unbelievable. And I'm sure there are so many stories like yours of people who survived that day. And I'm sure there's a community of that. And we're just grateful that you took the time to speak with us in honor this week, when this will be airing, of what happened and just about who you are as a person. When I first met you, I felt your energy and your aura, and just you're an incredible human. And I'm grateful to be connected with you. So thank you for taking
Well,
time.
thank you so much, guys, for the opportunity.
I would love to share my foxhole with you should it ever come to that.
Okay, well, we will hope
That's an
it
offer you probably
doesn't,
have
but
never
I know
had.
where to find you if it should.
I told you there's no filter.
That's okay. That's okay.
And I hate baseball.
Well,
sharing with us. It's
thank you so much. And we will share with our listeners how they can connect with you because certainly your message of how you navigate in a crisis situation is huge as a leader. And I'm sure there's so many great tidbits you have to share with people individually, but also as teams. So we will certainly share your contact information and everything with all of our listeners. We're just grateful that we
Okay,
have time to have this conversation.
terrific. Well, thank you, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks,
excellent.
Ken. We appreciate you.
Okay, bye
Thanks for
now.
giving us safety and thanks
Oh,
for
hold on,
giving us safe in
hold
the
on.
airport.
Are we cleared for landing?
You're cleared for landing.
Yes! Woo-hoo!
Thanks,
Thanks, Ken.
Ken. Good to
Thank you.
see you.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
bye.
Bye. Whew.
Strong stuff.
Yeah, right. I mean, like that is
He
unbelievable.
was super. But the question, when you ask, who are you? It's the question that most people never ask themselves. And he was asked in a crisis, and the guy more than came through.
I was doing everything I could to hold back tears. I think that even though it's been 24 years and I wasn't personally directly related to it, right? Just hearing him talk, I could envision it. I was picturing it. It was just, I mean, the thing is that if you were born and around and living and you understood what happened that day, it goes down as one of those times in history where you never forget where you were.
It's just unfortunate time does desensitize some of the topics, but you have to keep it uppermost in mind. The fact that it happened, it's just one of the scariest times in the country's history.
Well, and I love how he said that, they just got back at it. They knew that they had to do something and that he felt so
Well, he contributed.
relieved. Yeah, he felt like he was like doing something to help people that day. I mean, it's so interesting. I thought was really interesting is that he had no concept of what was going on, even though he heard the people falling and to their death, and he still had no concept when he got there of what was going on because that just shows you like fear, like fight or flight.
Not, not, well, not just that, but the event of what transpired was so outside the realm of possibility. No one ever thought about that kind of an attack happening. Someone flying a commercial airliner directly into a building, especially the World Trade Center, let alone two buildings, let alone the third building going towards the Pentagon.
I mean, and there must be, we didn't ask, and I didn't want to ask, but like survivor's guilt or, there's got so much there, but
It was a perfect interview.
it was. Listeners, as we navigate this week is the 24th anniversary of those that we lost on 9/11, from the airplanes to the towers to, all of it. We think of you if you lost a loved one. We think of everyone that was impacted by that, and those loved ones that we lost, those brave souls that we lost. And this week, we just ask, reach out to a neighbor, to a friend, and do it every day. But more so, it's a reminder of how life is short and live every day to its fullest, connect with people, share love, and just know who you are and be you.
And in reference and respect to the people of the third flight over the Pentagon, let's roll, baby. Let's roll.
Yeah, let's.
See you next time.
Whew. All right. Thanks, listener. And yeah, that's his story.
Hey, thank you for tuning into today's What's Your Story podcast.
To learn more or share your story, go to jamiemarco.com. That's www.jamiemarco.com. And we will see you next time.